Star Empess 222 here, or Jeanette, for those of you who know me by that. My lighting is not that great. So, I'm here to talk to you about twin flame. Okay. What is a twin flame? So, I'm going to tell you what the spiritual community looks at as a twin flame. And through my own experiences, what I feel a twin flame is. Okay. So, popular belief among the spiritual or twin flame community is that twin flame is a person, a soul that you meet in an unexpected way, just the other half of your soul, someone that completes you. You're an opposite polarity. Usually there's duality there. That which means for me that your beliefs and at least half of your interests are different, okay, than this other person. So there's usually an history, okay, after meeting, after you meet, and you feel this is your person, who you're meant to be with. And chances are the divine masculine, which they're not very divine at the time. They seem that way, but so distorted. Okay, so the masculine pulls the feminine in. Okay, and once the feminine is pulled in, when actuated, and they have these feelings of being in love with the person, the masculine begins to feel this after the honeymoon stage wears down, and they're either not emotionally mature enough, or emotional wounds begin to surface. So they off and run from the feminine. They're not ready for a deep connection or relationship of that depth. They are not ready to face or different aspects of themselves to be able to match the feminine emotional or spiritual level. Time around then, as the tower comes crashing down, say, the divine feminine is then propelled into a twin flame awakening. The feminine then sees syncs, like synchronicities and numbers, or in other signs that they're drawn to. They become aware of the connection this in the spiritual world. Okay, so DF, meaning divine feminine, will start to research whatever they're seeing, and then researches everything that they can to find the answers that they're looking for as they're going through the dark night of the soul, which is parts of your shadow self that come up. Your shadow self is the not so good experiences that you've encountered, and it's created wounds that you've buried deep inside. So this dark night of the soul comes up because a lot of times the DF has a wound, an abandoned wound. Okay. So these wounds laid out in front of the feminine for them to work, sometimes repeatedly, until we find a better way to live. So the divine feminine then overthinks and overfeels because they're a wounded empath. Okay, and think feel very deeply and can take on others' feelings as well, okay, or energy. They absorb. Okay, so they think of ways the masculine will come back to them. And they do whatever they can, aside from creating more karma for themselves. So, hopefully they don't. And so they try to make the masculine come back to them, and the masculine further runs. Okay. Now, if there is some contact between the divine feminine and the divine masculine over this separation period, some conversations are not bad to have because everything happens for a reason. You can't really mess, okay? Because, in a sense, well, the divine feminine should not be chasing, okay? Because that diminishes your worth and it makes you feel worthless. So, but there are times when the divine feminine and divine masculine are in contact with each other, and these spiritual stations that the divine feminine brings up to the masculine can aid in the slow awakening of the divine masculine. Now, we can't force this awakening to happen. It has to happen on its own time, in divine timing. It only happens when they finally choose to feel they're actually ready to unbury their wounds. Okay, so we cannot force this to happen. It happens when it happens. So the divine feminine must break away attachment to their counterpart, who they feel is their counterpart, their twin flame. Okay, they must live their life. All right, and they usually are anyone else during this stage, and they must learn to on their own, okay, or you know, without another person to be devoid of attachments, finding their worth within themselves and their love within themselves, giving themselves the love that they want, that they desire, that they craved. Okay, this happens a deal of solitude, working through your shadow self, because you see, and most of you know, you mirror back to each other aspects of yourself that need to be worked on, to be worked through. And this has to happen by your for each other, and it would just be another karmic relationship. So it's good to find others you can relate to. I know that on the twin flame journey, I have found some amazing souls who were kindred spirits, and thank God for Facebook groups. Okay, didn't think I'd say that. There's some things I don't like about Facebook, but I was able to find a lot of my soul tribe members that way, and it really helps that person or people that you can relate to, and you can talk about your experiences here. Okay, okay? Flame journey. So also a lot of the twin flames feels that twin flame is another person. Or the other half of their soul. I believed that for a long time. I now believe a bit differently, and I'm still discovering, and I don't really have a set belief, but there's some things to ponder here that I'm going to bring to your attention, okay? There are some people of the twin flame community that believe, depending on how advanced your soul is, that your soul breaks off, branches off, creating more than one twin flame. That could be possible, and I'll tell you why it is and why it isn't. Okay. So when I had heard this concept before, I never believed it. There's only one. You can't have more than one. Because for 4 years, I couldn't move on from mine. In my life, I found this might be true. I fell in love, surprisingly, which was very surprisingly for me, for about 4 or 5 years. I had dated, and I could not find a person that I could have a deep connection with that could fill that void. So I fell in love with someone else from another country, and he was more like me, spiritual, and we shared depth of emotion and awareness, and spiritually inclined, and there was a deep attraction of that. And of course, we were physically attracted to each other also, so that helped. We met last year in a twin flame Facebook group, and he reached out to me, and he had debated with me as to whether or not my twin flame was indeed my twin. I told him of the specific sign I had asked for, in which they were uncommon signs. But I had seen in a blog somewhere that someone said, if you want to find out if that person's your twin flame, then ask for a specific sign and be as specific about what you ask as possible. So several months later, I got my sign, and then 2 months later again, 2 months later again, and hence the 22 that's in the end of my name there. Also, there's a movie that's a twin flame movie called 222 that I never knew about, that I was drawn to as one of my experiences. Okay. So I was pretty sure that the person I thought was my twin flame was indeed flame. And so I let this person know that. And the person at the time, we talked on and off for about a year. And then he confessed his love to me back in February, and we decided that we belonged together. And it's still kind of a shock to me that, I had loved one person for like so many years, and then all of a sudden this other person comes along, and he's like everything I've wanted my twin flame to be, and or so I thought. So we decided that we were going together. We made plans to do this and have a family one day. Cards. We then triggered the other. I'm only smiling because I'm taking it a little bit easier now, all that I've been through. And you'll come to find that it does get easier once you've done so much healing work. So after about a month of being together in a long distance relationship, and we aired to each other wounds that were not healed. Okay. I realized that he has more wounds to heal than I do, but I was still triggered a little bit, abandonment, and by him not understanding where I was coming from, different things. So I could see his wounded ego pressing through. He could be another twin flame of mine, or he could also be a DF in wounded energy. But I'm able to now, with my knowledge and my experience and the healing that I've done, to not feel like I've died since, since it got broken off. I was, feeling down, but not the way I had felt in the beginning of my awakening, so I just know that he has things to work through, devoid of wounded ego, and I have to be okay with that. On this journey, we divine feminine are awakened first because we are more vulnerable to and open to the spiritual world and spiritual concepts. I went through 5 years mostly alone, gone through dark night of the soul, which seemed never ending sometimes, myself out from the pits of hell, finding positive resources. That's really important. Positive speakers, people who have been there and been through it. Listening to at night when you're sleeping or sometime during the day, taking out to rebalance. Okay, learning about your chakras and energy. Listening to positive affirmations, that really helps to retrain the subconscious, and that's what I've been doing, and I'm still doing, still trying to my subconscious, to be to think of things differently and in a more positive way. And I'm more confident now within myself and who I am today because of all that I've been through. And I'm sure that a lot of you can relate. And now I believe with the concept that some others do, and it makes sense mostly, that the soul that we feel is our twin flame is really just a soulmate that triggers our awakening. The twin flame, I feel, and it was brought to my attention by the last person I was with, and it makes sense that your subconscious is actually your twin flame. Now, some of you may completely disagree, and that's fine. But think about it a little bit, okay? So this soul is awakening your subconscious, okay, from the conformation or conforming of societal pressures, okay, the trauma through in the ego, death, okay. We are all mirrors for each other, not just your twin flame. When we are twin flame, we wanted to we wanted them to be it, okay. We wanted them to be our end all be all, right? And because we couldn't have that, we were catapulted into this twin flame awakening and to never return, only to grow and better ourselves. You see, if you are a TF, twin flame, you are meant to be a light bearer, light worker, okay? We're here to help others to see the light within themselves and to heal and show souls there is another way, okay? It doesn't mean that we have a romantic relationship in this life, but it may take some time for that to happen. You know, you don't want to just settle for just anyone. When you're on the twin flame journey, you tend to be very picky about who you're with because you want someone you can relate to, someone who can understand you and feel how you feel and have that action. You want it all into one. So it may take some time, but don't stop believing, you know. So it could be this person as your twin flame, or it could be somebody entirely different. You just never know. And certainly you can manifest what you want, okay, if you truly believe. So, we're here to show souls that there's another way of living that is more fulfilling, balanced, and harmonious. Yes, it takes work to get there, but it's worth feeling truly alive. We're meant to help others to awaken to their true potential, why they're here, you know, their purpose, to help raise the earth's awareness and consciousness to 5D and higher levels of consciousness, and to get away from the wounded DM and DF energy, okay, of war, of manipulation, abuse, constant misunderstandings and triggering each other, and the closed consciousness, okay, that we reflect onto the wounded consciousness. So it's time to evolve, and we're here to do that and to help others to do that too, and to teach, okay. If we can the capacity of depth that we do, we will receive one day as well. But until then, love is all around us in other forms, and we must become who we are meant to be. What is your purpose? What do you enjoy doing? Who are you outside of attachments? Okay. So I hope that this helped you to think a little bit deeper on the subject of twin flame. And if you really feel like you are a twin flame, then you have a greater purpose than just being with your counterpart. So I hope that you're able to discover what that purpose is and to live your truth. And that's what I'm going to do as well. So it's really wonderful to be on this journey. I may have felt cursed previously, but it's actually a blessing because not a lot of people get to experience what we get to experience. And I'm glad that you're here with me, and I'm sending you lots of love and light on your journey, my friends. Namaste.